They thought he was just a retired farmer. They were dead wrong. In the quiet heart of Wyoming's Pine Creek Valley, Jack Raven tends his land like any other man, except he isn't. The cartel called him Shadow for a reason. Now they're about to learn why. When a Mexican drug empire invades his valley, burning farms and beating men who refuse to sell, Jack does what he knows best. He fights back. But this isn't just any fight. A sniper who never misses. An explosives expert with a sense of humor. A ghost in the comms wires. A medic who knows how to hurt as well as heal. They're all in their 50s. They're all lethal. And they're about to turn this valley into a war zone. Problem for the cartel? They picked the wrong old man to mess with. 50-year-old Jack Raven recently settled in the picturesque Pine Creek Valley, nestled among Wyoming's majestic mountains. To the locals, he was just a quiet, solitary farmer. Only a few noticed his military bearing and sharp gaze, observing every little detail around him. No one in the valley knew that this hard-working farmer was once the legendary commander of Delta Force, codenamed Shadow, appearing silently and vanishing without a trace. One cold morning, Jack walked the perimeter of his property with his loyal German shepherd, Atlas. With a professional eye, he spotted fresh car tire tracks in the softened soil. The imprints were deep, clearly made by a heavy vehicle not belonging to any local resident. Something was happening in the valley and it didn't bode well. His neighbor Sarah Foster confirmed his worst fears. A Mexican cartel had recently moved into the valley. The criminals were systematically buying up farms, intimidating those who refused to sell until they surrendered. In the past month, 7 farms had already fallen into the cartel's hands. To Jack, this wasn't just information, it was a tactical assessment. His farm sat in a strategic location, controlling the main road into the valley and several access routes. It was only a matter of time before the cartel came for him. Back home, Jack opened the cache he had installed when he first bought the land. His friends called it paranoia, Jack called it preparation. Beneath layers of ordinary tools lay military comms gear, weapons, tactical equipment, everything he might need if things went south. He hoped he'd never have to use any of it, but years of service had taught him to always expect the worst. All day, Jack watched black cartel SUVs slowly drive past his gate, scouting the area. They were clearly choosing their next target. Jack began calling his old teammates, men who had fought beside him in places the world would never know, on missions it would never hear about. Their sniper, Hunter Raven, was the first to respond. Explosives expert Dustin Boomer, comms specialist Eric Spector, and their medic Marcus Doc agreed to come. Though each man was now in his 50s, together they had always been a force even the toughest enemies couldn't ignore. The cartel had no idea what kind of retirees they were about to face. The next day, all plans changed when Jack learned his friend Michael Baker had been attacked. The only man who had welcomed him openly into the valley helped him repair his barn and taught him the nuances of local farming. Now, Michael lay in a coma after a brutal beating by cartel members, all because he refused to sell land that had been in his family for generations. At the hospital, Jack met Michael's wife Alice and their 14-year-old son Tommy. Despite his shock, the boy showed remarkable observation skills, describing the attackers in detail. One had a scarred face, another a crown tattoo on his neck, and the third carried a rosary. Jack instantly recognized the boy had a rare gift for noticing what others missed under stress. Realizing the danger to his friend's family, Jack insisted Alice and Tommy stay with him temporarily while Michael recovered. If the cartel came back, his farm was the only safe place for them. Now it was personal. This wasn't just about protecting land, it was about innocent lives and the valley's way of living. Jack gathered his team at an abandoned sawmill and laid out the situation. Everyone understood they had less time to prepare than they'd hoped. The cartel was more aggressive than expected. Driving home with Michael's family, Jack spotted familiar black SUVs heading toward the Miller farm, recently acquired by the cartel. He settled Alice and Tommy in the guest house, the most remote and secure spot on the property. Atlas immediately took the boy under his wing, never leaving his side as if understanding his duty. That night, Tommy sat on the porch and asked bluntly if Jack was really just a farmer. Jack didn't lie. He admitted he had been someone else once but now only wanted peace. When Tommy asked if he could stop the men who hurt his father, Jack made a firm promise: he would do everything to ensure justice was served. The next morning, as expected, 3 black SUVs rolled up to Jack's farm. 5 men in expensive suits stepped out, their leader Raul El Corte Mendez, flashing a businesslike smile that hid a predator's caution. Jack counted 2 more men still in the vehicles, hands ready to draw weapons. Mendez introduced himself as a representative of an investment group interested in buying Jack's land. He didn't bother haggling, offering $3 million in cash, far above market value. Jack politely but firmly refused, explaining the land wasn't for sale. Mendez's smile tightened. He made veiled threats, mentioning how those who resisted the valley's changes often met with accidents, especially stubborn old men who didn't recognize a good deal. Jack noticed 2 cartel men scanning his property, noting sightlines and defensive positions. These weren't ordinary real estate agents, they were advanced scouts. Deliberately, Jack used Mendez's name, though it had never been given. The cartel boss stiffened in surprise. The message was clear. Jack knew more than he let on. As the meeting ended, Mendez smirked, saying it'd be a shame if something happened to Atlas. Jack replied in a tone that carried the weight of his combat experience. That would be a very serious mistake. The words made Mendez hesitate. They'd expected an old farmer they could intimidate or buy off. Instead, they'd found something that put them on edge. After the intruders left, Jack activated his real security system. Hidden cameras in the trees, motion sensors along the perimeter, all feeding to a command center in his basement. An old habit, planning for the worst. Time was running out. The cartel wouldn't wait 24 hours as threatened. They'd seen something in Jack that worried them. They'd return sooner with greater force. But Jack and his team were ready. Night fell, silent and starlit. Jack positioned his team. Hunter in the north tower with a sniper's view, Dustin laying traps, Eric intercepting enemy comms, Marcus prepping a med station. At midnight, the first alert sounded. A convoy of 20 vehicles approached. The cartel had brought its full strength, no longer pretending to be investors. Through night vision, Jack watched 40 armed men advance in formation. They moved well, trained but forgetting the first rule of combat: never fight on the enemy's prepared ground. When the lead vehicles hit the perimeter, Jack gave the order. Dustin triggered the first explosions, sending 2 SUVs flipping into the air. Before the dust settled, Hunter's rifle spoke. 2 cartel men dropped before they knew they were under fire. Chaos erupted. Jack moved like a ghost, disarming one cartel member and using him as a shield against another. Both fell silently. "Who the hell are these people?" a cartel gunman radioed. "They're too organized." Mendez ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Jack detonated more charges, cutting off escape routes. Hunter's rifle methodically picked off remaining threats. The first wave failed, 8 vehicles burned, half the cartel forces down. "Fall back to the rally point," Mendez shouted. "Not happening," Jack said calmly. Hunter shot out the remaining SUV's tires, trapping them. Mendez whispered, "El Fantasma is going to kill us all." Jack emerged from the shadows behind him. El Fantasma should have done better reconnaissance. Maybe asked who owned this farm. Mendez spun, raising his weapon, but Jack struck first, precise and efficient. The cartel boss dropped unconscious. The rest surrendered. By dawn it was over. The cartel's elite forces, ex-special ops, hitmen, military hardware, had been crushed. Outnumbered and outgunned, Jack's team had won through skill. State police and FBI arrived to arrest survivors and gather evidence. The cartel's plan to turn the valley into a trafficking hub was finished. In the weeks that followed, Jack's team bought up the cartel's abandoned properties, turning them into strategic strongholds. The valley changed, not just in defenses but in spirit. Farmers and ranchers trained to spot danger, coordinate and protect their way of life. Michael recovered under Marcus's care. Tommy trained with Jack, his sharp eyes becoming a key part of the valley's new defense network. Rumors spread in criminal circles. Pine Creek Valley was now Ghost Valley, where those who came with ill intent vanished without a trace. One evening, watching the sunset from his porch, Jack reflected. They hadn't just stopped the cartel, they'd built something unique. A community where ordinary people, united, became an unstoppable force. Here, the shadow of Jack's past, the elusive shadow, had found new purpose. Not war but protection. Not destruction but peace. Atlas dozed at his feet. Across the valley, farm lights twinkled, each no longer just a home, but part of something greater. Some battles weren't won by strength alone, but by the power of community. And sometimes, the most dangerous predators were the ones who didn't seem threatening, until it was too late.